Charles Chuckloaf here with another episode on my journey, my quest to watch 1,200 films in one calendar year for a Guinness record and review all of them right here on the podcast. A lot of people have been asking me how I got the name Chuckloaf. They've never heard that before. Chuckloaf is just an old high school nickname. When everyone back then was listening to Pearl Jams and Nirvana, I was rocking it out to Meatloaf. I still love Meatloaf to this day. And back then there was no internet, so it was a little harder to get to find all the music. And then I find out Meatloaf's done all of these films. So I started watching his movies too. And actually, later on in this show, I'll be reviewing one of the few Meatloaf movies I have not seen yet. So you can look forward to that. But let's get going with the reviews. Number 73, The Polka King, starring Jack Black, who is perfectly casted in this film. It's based on a true story about a polka singer who runs a Ponzi scheme out of his little gift shop to keep his little lifestyle going of his polka tour. Fascinating film. I believe it's on Netflix right now. I highly recommend. Number 74, The Devil's Candy, Ethan Embry, who I haven't seen in a while. Stars in this kind of a haunted house film. And the people that are in the house are kind of not quite possessed, but influenced. And then this guy that used to live in the house is now a killer, and he's trying to get back in the house, and he's killing all these children. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's not a bad little film. I enjoyed it. Number 75, The Founder. Michael Keaton plays Ray Kroc. He wasn't the actual founder. That's just kind of what he put on his business card. He totally Facebooked the actual founders, as you will see in this film. But reality, McDonald's would not be where it is today if it was not for Ray Kroc. He helped expand McDonald's is what the empire it is today. Number 76, Passenger Side, stars Adam Scott. This is a very little indie-rific, low-budget film, but it wasn't that bad. This Adam Scott picks up his brother, and then he's helping him, driving him around town because the brother's looking for a girl for some reason or another, and they have kind of a strained relationship, and they kind of bond over this period of time. And there's a scene where Adam Scott's sitting in a car waiting for his brother to come back, and then this random tranny just gets in the car and starts going crazy. It's an amazing scene, but it's not a bad little movie. A little slow paced, but it's okay. Number 77, Thin Ice. Greg Kinnear, Alan Arkin. I love both of these actors. I think Greg Kinnear is very underrated. But he plays an insurance salesman, and he's in a little deep, and he's trying to dig his way out, and he finds out that one of his customers, Alan Arkin, has this very valuable violin, so he makes a scheme to steal the violin and then sell it and then dig his way out, and things kind of fall apart. But I didn't predict the ending either. The ending kind of threw me for a loop. Usually I can predict these endings, but not that one. Number 78, The Shakiest Gun in the West. We're going back to 1968 here with Don Knotts. Don Knotts wanted to be a dentist out west because he said people out west have bad teeth. His words, not mine. He then gets hastily married to an undercover female outlaw when he gets in gunfights with Indians and outlaws or whoever, and while he thinks he's shooting them, his wife is actually shooting them from a distance because she's, It did have a couple good laughs, I will admit, and it had a very interesting scene with a young Pat Morita. So it's worth a view. Number 79, Blackula. How I haven't seen this movie before, I'll never know. 1972, this white Dracula curses Blackula, whose name is Mama Verde. Curses him by biting him and shoving him in a locked casket, for the end of time. And of course, hundreds of years later, the casket gets open and Blackie goes on a killing spree in New York, and there's a black detective who's out to stop him, and he looks just like Tracy Morgan. I swear he must be his father. I haven't checked on this, but it wouldn't surprise me. There's a lot of... there's some good one-liners in this, but I can't repeat them because my mom might be listening. Then, of course, I had to watch the sequel, number 80, Scream, Blackula Scream. It starts with Big Willis, who gets upset because he's left out of the family inheritance. First off, Big Willis is like 5'7" and 143 pounds. But Big Willis then buys the bones of Blackula. The bones of Blackula should be in police evidence. They should not be hanging about town. But he buys the bones and resurrects him somehow, and he thought Blackula would do his bidding, but it kind of was reversed, and Big Willis ended up working for Blackula. You don't tell Blackula what to do. And Blackula is smitten with Big Willis' sister, Pam Grier, and it goes from there. But not a horrible sequel. Number 81, Battle of the Sexes. The story of when Billie Jean King fought Bobby Riggs in a tennis match. I knew a little bit about this story, but I did not know that a few months prior to their big match, 55-year-old Bobby Riggs totally destroyed the top-ranked woman player at the time, Margaret Court. That was news to me. I just thought this was just a one-time exhibition. I didn't know he was going through them and picking them off, but not a bad movie. It kept my interest. Steve Carell is a very good actor. Number 82, The Stoning of Soraya M., based on a true story set in Iran. A man wants to quickly divorce his wife, so he has her falsely accused of adultery so she can then be stoned, and then he would be free. That's the wonderful world of religion for you. Jim Caviezel co-starred as the reporter that broke the case. He showed up the day after the stoning and was talking to a resident of the town and found out about it, and then he took the information and ran with it and made it public. Number 83. It's a sad film, but it's not bad. Number 83, Happiness Runs. Not a very good film. This hippie cult commune has been running for years and years and years, and all the hippies have children, and the children are growing up, and all the young people want out of this cult. But and they all have their own little separate scheme of how to get out. Some work, some don't, but whole lot of nothing going on in this one. Rutger Hauer, it is refreshing to see him. He played the cult leader. But yeah, I'd skip this one. 84, Anna. It's about this remote viewer. If you don't know what the remote viewer is, he's kind of the opposite of a psychic. Instead of looking into your future, he can kind of look into your past to see what's going on. And this remote viewer was brought in to find out if this young woman is crazy. And it turned out she's been dealt some tough cards in her life, but ends up finding out that it's more about the people around her that are disturbed more than she is. Brian Cox, who I love, co-starred in this, but it's not a bad little thriller, I guess you would call it. But yeah, it's not bad. Number 85, A Ghost Story. We have to talk about this one. Stars Casey Affleck. I love movies that are completely unique and original, because I'm not used to seeing those, because I've seen, so many over the years, and this was completely unique. It's a unique vision. That's what I don't call them strange. I call them unique visions, and that's what this film is. Casey Affleck has a wife and young kids, and then he dies, and then he's a ghost, and he's just kind of there in the house, just watching his family while his wife is falling apart. And then, of course, he's kind of stuck at the house, and then his family moves out, and then another family goes in, and then after years, another group of people come in, and he's just kind of there. And then the house gets demolished. Well, I don't want to give too much away, but yeah, he's just kind of stuck in this locale while all these things are going on around him. There's very, very little dialogue, and some of the scenes run a little long, but like I said, this is a unique vision, and I enjoyed it. Number 86, It Comes at Night, Joel Edgerton. The trailer for this was a little deceptive, as is the title, and even during the movie it hints that there's something out there, and it's not good, and you want to know what it is, but you're not going to find out. At the end, you kind of figure out, oh, that's what it is. But it's basically about this family, and it's like a Walking Dead times. There's this plague, and everyone's cut off from each other, and there's no electricity, and Edgerton is stuck in this little house with his family, and then this guy wanders up to him, and they make a deal, because other guy's got a family, and he's got chickens and goats, and so they start living together and working as a unit, and yeah, it goes from there. But it's still not a bad film. I kept my interest, but just don't expect too much. Number 87, Death Passage. A group of young people decide to investigate an urban legend where if you go fast enough down a certain road, a light will appear behind you and start following you. Of course, they just can't do that. They have to, have someone out there to look at the light and investigate the light and see what's going on. And of course, things spiral out of control when people wind up maimed or dead or whatever. And it got a little weird at the end, but it was okay, I guess. Number 88, The Hatred. This was a highly reviewed, highly critically acclaimed horror film. I didn't think it was very, very great. It was just okay. This family, and then the father has a link with Hitler, and Hitler sends him, Hitler's people send him an item, and the item's kind of cursed because of its past, and it causes the father to go on a killing spree, and then kills the daughter. And then 50 years later, a small group of young people go into the house, and they stir things up, and the dead daughter, spirit or whatever, goes on a killing spree, and yada yada yada. Yeah, it's been done. Not a great film. Number 89, Grassland. This guy's trying to help out his drug addict mother by doing what he can, and he gets involved in some shady dealings. The English accent in this film made it almost impossible to understand what was going on when you can only understand every third word. And I know you're probably thinking, well, to turn on the subtitles, I still don't know what they're saying. Bloody winka, yinka, yinka, yinka. I don't know what they're saying. But there is a bathroom scene towards the end that is crazy. Number 90, Visions. This woman is having premonitions of something that's going to happen, and she's driving everyone around her crazy, her friends and family and doctor, and they all think she's crazy, and the jump scares were a little out of hand in this film. A lot of modern horror films will go like 5 minutes, and then you can predict when it's going to happen, and then they jump at you and play the creepy music. And blah. There were points where the jump scares would happen every minute. It's a little much, laying on a little thick, but it's not a bad movie. Number 91, The Razor's Edge, a very old Bill Murray movie. I like Bill Murray, but this movie wasn't great. Bill Murray returns from World War I, and then leaves his country behind to go to France, and then rekindles an old romance with this woman. This movie's slow going, and it's kind of sad at times. There's a few laughs. There's a few times where Bill Murray is Bill Murray, and it'll make you chuckle, but gosh. Yeah, a little long. On the long side. Number 92, Predestination. Ethan Hawke. The ending was interesting. The last 5 minutes was good. The journey up to that ending was a little irritating, a little nauseating. This time jumper has to stop this bombing. So he goes back in time and he's undercover as a bartender. And then this man, who is obviously a female, comes into the bar. And Ethan Hawke is shocked to learn that he's a she, when it's clearly obvious. But anyway, you get a long background story of this he-she as she's being interviewed by Ethan Hawke, and then you learn the connection, and then it kind of goes from there, and then it picks up at the end. But yeah, I don't know if I can recommend this one. I don't think I can. 93 Severance, a comedy horror. This group of office people, I guess, they're going to a remote cabin to do some team building exercises, and their bus breaks down and they end up going to the wrong cabin. And then of course there's a serial killer on the prowl around this cabin, and people start getting picked off. It did have some very funny moments. I enjoyed this film. I thought it was very good, worth a viewing. Severance. Number 94, Still Alice. Julianne Moore, my favorite actress. I love her. She plays this intelligent, I guess, professor. And Alec Baldwin plays her successful husband. And she plays a woman who's barely 50, and she gets early onset Alzheimer's. And, yeah, if you ever seen a movie where people are slowly dying of cancer, this is kind of the same thing. You see her slowly start forgetting stuff, and she forgets where the bathroom is and pees her pants, and it's a mess, and she starts slowly, losing everything, and it's very sad. But a very well-made movie by a very good actress. Number 95, Citizen Jane. The guy that played Powder and his wife, Ali Sheedy. Ali Sheedy is close with her, I think, her aunt, because she raised her when her mom wasn't there too. And suddenly the aunt ends up dead, and the detective on the case can't find any leads, and he eventually gets reassigned. And then in comes in the new detective, Meatloaf, and Meatloaf smells something a little fishy, and he starts investigating the couple a little closely and starts getting into their stuff, and they don't like that very much. But Meatloaf is on the prowl to find out what happened, and he did a very good job. I enjoyed it. Number 96, Happy Death Day. Well-made little horror film about this girl that wakes up every morning and then goes through her day and then gets murdered at some point during her day, and she has to figure out who's killing her and why and how to stop it. Even though it's a little bit repetitive, it doesn't get nauseating, it doesn't get annoying. It stayed interesting, which was why it's a good film. Number 97, The Raid Redemption. I think this is a Japanese movie. It's all in subtitles, but there wasn't much talking. It's about this SWAT team that has to go in and take down this slumlord who hides out in this hotel that he runs, and he rents out all the rooms to shady characters that are trying to lay low. So the SWAT team is working their way through the hotel, and then the slumlord gets word that they're there. So he makes this announcement to all the people in the hotel that if you help me stop the SWAT team people, I'll give you free rent for life. So, of course, then it becomes the whole hotel versus the SWAT team that are already stuck in that hotel. Very violent movie. Wow. A lot of limbs getting lopped off, and, yeah, people getting shot in the face at point-blank range. But, yeah, it kept me interested. Number 98, The Midnight Man. It starts with a scene set in the 50s about this group of friends. I don't know if it may have been brother or sister, but they're playing this game where you summon the Midnight Man, and if you break the rules, the Midnight Man kills you via your worst fear. And then the survivor of the game is this woman who is now, then 50 years later, she's an older woman, and she has this granddaughter that takes care of her. Then the granddaughter and her male friend are poking around in the attic, and of course they find the rules and all the stuff needed to play the Midnight Man game, and they summon the Midnight Man again, and bad things start to happen. But Midnight Man does not joke around. He's a dick. Co-starred the guy that played Freddy, the old Freddy Krueger, whatever, Robert Englund. He popped up in this. It's nice to see him. Number 99, Charlie's Farm. There was about these farmers, this husband and wife, and they had a small child, and he was messed up. And they would kidnap people and kill the people, and then the mob, the village mob, would come out and kill the farmers. But the little boy escaped, and then fast forward, 30 years later, and it's kind of a tourist trap. But the little boy Charlie is still there, Charlie's Farm, and so when tourists go there, they usually get picked off by Charlie. Charlie is played by ex-pro wrestler Nathan Jones, so you got this 7-foot-tall killer farmer you got to watch out for. Kane Hodder, who played Jason Voorhees in many of the later Friday the 13th movies, he pops up in this. He is a remarkably decent actor. He surprised me. But yeah, it's not a bad little horror film. Charlie's Farm. Number 100, the spectacular now, the usually reliable Miles Teller stars. I was worried this was going to be a chick flick date movie and that was going to make me puke, but it was not. Miles Teller plays this guy that tries to be everyone's super best friend while he's ignoring his own personal demons, and eventually the demons take over his life and he kind of steamrolls out of control. But yeah, this is a movie where a guy can watch this with a girl and neither one will be annoyed. But yeah, that's the movies we got for now. I think It will finally be in shortly, so I can finally watch that and finally review that one. Other than that, I have no clue what's coming. I guess we'll wait and see. But okay, that's it for now. Bye-bye.